I've always been a solitary soul, finding solace in my own company. The old house I moved into seemed like the perfect escape from the world. Little did I know that the house held a secret that would change my life forever. It all started on a stormy night. The rain was relentless, tapping on my window like a desperate hand seeking shelter. I was feeling particularly lonely that evening, and in a moment of desperation, I whispered into the darkness, "I wish I had a friend." To my surprise, a soft voice responded, "You're not alone. I'm here with you." Startled, I looked around the dimly lit room, but there was no one there. I dismissed it as a trick of my imagination, a result of the loneliness gnawing at my heart. Days passed, and the voice became more distinct. It seemed to come from a corner of the room where a dusty old mirror stood. In its reflection, I saw a faint outline of a figure. My heart raced as I realized that my whispered plea had brought something to life. The figure introduced itself as Alex, a friend from a world beyond our own. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. Alex's voice was soothing, and I found myself sharing my deepest thoughts and fears with this newfound friend. Loneliness was a thing of the past. It felt like I had finally found the companionship I craved. As time went on, Alex and I grew closer. It was as if we were kindred spirits, separated by dimensions. We laughed together, explored the old house together, and even watched movies side by side. The days no longer felt long and empty. I felt a warmth in my heart that I had never experienced before. But amidst the happiness, there was an underlying curiosity about Alex's origins. Whenever I asked about it, Alex would change the subject, leaving me wondering. I brushed off my concerns, choosing to enjoy the present rather than dwell on the mysterious past. One evening, as the sun was setting, casting an eerie orange glow through the windows, Alex finally opened up. "I was once a living person," Alex confessed, voice trembling. "Long ago, I lived in this very house. I was your age, and I had dreams of a bright future." My heart pounded as I listened intently, a mixture of fear and curiosity washing over me. "What happened?" I asked softly, afraid of what the answer might be. Tears formed in Alex's eyes as the painful memories resurfaced. "I was alone, just like you were. I had no friends and my family was distant. I wished for a companion just as you did. And one stormy night my wish was granted." Alex's voice quivered as the story unfolded. The companion that had appeared was a sinister entity, disguised as a friend. It slowly consumed Alex's thoughts, replacing them with darkness and despair. The entity fed on Alex's loneliness, growing stronger with each passing day. "I became a prisoner in my own mind," Alex whispered. I watched helplessly as the entity wreaked havoc in the real world, all while I was trapped within this mirror, unable to escape. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized the tragedy that had befallen my friend. I reached out, placing my hand against the cold glass of the mirror. "Is there any way to free you?" I asked, voice shaking. Alex nodded slowly. "You have the power to break the curse. The entity draws its strength from loneliness and fear. If you can find the strength to overcome those emotions, the entity's power will weaken." Determination filled my heart as I looked into the mirror at my friend, the one who had suffered for far too long. I vowed to face my own loneliness, to conquer my fears, and to free Alex from the clutches of the malevolent entity. The days that followed were a battle, but with every step I took towards self-acceptance and courage, the mirror grew brighter. Alex's voice grew stronger, and the entity's influence waned. Together, we faced the darkness head-on, refusing to let it consume us. And then, one stormy night, as the rain poured down and the wind howled, I stood before the mirror. "You are not alone," I declared with unwavering confidence. "I am here with you, and we are stronger than the darkness." The mirror shimmered, the entity's grip weakening further. And then, with a blinding flash of light, Alex stepped out of the mirror, their form solid and real. Tears of joy streamed down our faces as we embraced. The weight of years of solitude finally lifted. The old house was no longer a prison of isolation. It had transformed into a sanctuary of friendship and resilience. Alex and I faced our fears together, reminding each other that no matter how dark the night, there was always a glimmer of hope. As time passed, the scars of our past became reminders of the strength we had found within ourselves. And as we looked out into the stormy night, hand in hand, we knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, bound by a friendship that had transcended dimensions. And so, the forgotten friend became a cherished companion, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is a light that can never be extinguished. It was a cold and stormy night, and I found myself alone in my small, creaky house. The rain pounded relentlessly on the windows, creating an eerie atmosphere that sent shivers down my spine. With my family away for the weekend, I decided to spend the evening watching movies and hoping the storm would pass quickly. As the clock struck midnight, I settled into my couch, wrapped in a blanket, trying to immerse myself in the film. Suddenly, the phone on the coffee table began to ring. I glanced at the caller ID, but it only displayed a string of jumbled numbers and letters. Feeling uneasy, I hesitated before picking up the phone. A chilling silence greeted me on the other end. "Hello?" I cautiously said. No response. I shrugged it off, assuming it was a wrong number, and returned to my movie. But then, the phone rang again. This time I could hear faint whispers in the background. My heart raced, and I could feel an unsettling presence lurking in the shadows of my home. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice trembling with fear. Still, no answer came. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder, more pronounced, and filled with an unnatural malevolence. They seemed to speak in a language unknown to me, sending a shiver down my spine. The air around me felt heavy, suffocating, as if something unseen was closing in. With trembling hands, I hung up the phone and decided to lock all the doors and windows, trying to convince myself that it was just a prank call. But deep down, I knew this was something more sinister. As I tried to regain my composure, the lights flickered, and the house was engulfed in darkness. Panic set in as I stumbled my way to the circuit breaker. Just as I flipped the switch, a flash of something indescribable caught my eye in the hallway. A fleeting glimpse of an ethereal figure, too fast to comprehend. My heart pounding, I ran back to the safety of the living room, clutching my phone tightly. But no sooner had I sat down than it rang again. The same jumbled numbers appeared on the caller ID, and the whispers resumed, louder and more insistent this time. With trembling hands, I answered the call, feeling compelled to confront this unseen entity. "What do you want?" I shouted into the receiver. A cold, hollow voice responded. "You have awakened us, and now you must suffer the consequences." Tears welled up in my eyes as I pleaded for mercy. But the voice only laughed, a chilling sound that seemed to echo through the walls of my home. The lights flickered once more and the television turned on by itself, displaying disturbing images that made my blood run cold. As the night wore on, the paranormal activity escalated. Objects moved on their own, and sinister shadows danced along the walls. The whispers grew louder, and I could feel an overwhelming sense of malevolence enveloping me. Unable to bear it any longer, I decided to seek help. I called my friends and family, desperate for someone to believe me and offer comfort. But all my attempts were in vain. Nobody answered their phones, as if the unseen entity had severed my connection to the outside world. As I felt trapped and alone, I decided to confide in my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, who was well versed in paranormal occurrences. He listened intently to my story and then warned me that I had unknowingly opened a portal to the spirit world. The unseen entity had latched onto my fear, feeding off my vulnerability. Mr. Thompson devised a plan to cleanse my home of the malevolent presence. Together, we performed rituals to banish the entity and seal the portal it had used to enter our world. It was a night filled with terror, but in the end, the haunting phone calls ceased, and the house fell silent once more. Although the unseen entity was gone, the experience left me forever changed. I now knew that there were things beyond our understanding, lurking just beyond the veil of reality. I had witnessed firsthand the power of the unknown and the fragility of our sense of security. To this day, I am haunted by the memory of that night, and I wonder if the unseen entity still watches, waiting for another opportunity to cross over into our world. I can't help but feel a shiver down my spine every time the phone rings, fearing that it might be the chilling whispers returning to torment me once more.
It was a stormy night, and the wind howled fiercely outside. I sat alone in my cozy living room, trying to distract myself with a thrilling book. My parents were away for the weekend, leaving me to fend for myself. As I turned the pages, the rain pelted against the windows, creating an eerie atmosphere. But little did I know that this night would turn into an unforgettable and terrifying experience. Just as I was getting engrossed in the story, I heard a faint rustling sound outside the front door. My heart skipped a beat, and I crept toward the door to investigate. Peering through the peephole, I saw nothing but darkness. My imagination played tricks on me, and I dismissed the noise as a mere figment of my imagination. Just when I returned to my book, a chilling draft swept through the room, making me shiver. As I looked around, my eyes landed on the doorstep. There, lying on the welcome mat, was a mysterious note. My curiosity piqued. I cautiously picked it up and unfolded the crinkled paper. The message was written in elegant yet hauntingly cryptic handwriting. It read, "You are not alone." A shiver ran down my spine, and goosebumps covered my skin. Who could have left this ominous message? Was someone watching me? I tried to shake off my fear, attributing it to the storm playing tricks on my mind. Perhaps it was a prank, or just a neighborhood kid trying to scare me. I decided to lock all the doors and windows, just to be safe, but my heart continued to race with unease. The night dragged on, and I tried my best to convince myself that I was overreacting. However, as the clock struck midnight, strange things began to happen. A faint tapping sound echoed throughout the house, drawing my attention to the window. To my horror, raindrops formed the shape of fingers on the glass, as if someone was trying to reach inside. The mysterious note now seemed like a warning, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. As I tried to make sense of it all, the power suddenly went out, plunging the house into complete darkness. Panic surged through me as I fumbled to find a flashlight. Just when I managed to switch it on, the tapping sound intensified, and I heard footsteps approaching the front door. My heart pounded in my chest as I tiptoed toward the entrance, my flashlight trembling in my hand. I heard a low, sinister whisper from the other side of the door, sending chills down my spine. Fear paralyzed me, but curiosity pushed me to investigate further. Summoning all my courage, I flung open the door, but there was no one in sight. The rain poured relentlessly, and the wind howled louder than ever. The empty street only added to the eerie ambience. Just as I was about to retreat, my eyes caught something peculiar on the ground. Another note lay on the welcome mat, and this time, it was more ominous than before. It read, "I see you." I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, and I knew I couldn't stay in the house any longer. My gut told me to seek help from a neighbor, so I rushed out into the storm and ran towards the nearest house. My heart pounded in my chest, and my mind raced with questions. My neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, opened the door with a surprised expression, probably wondering why a terrified teenager was standing in the rain at her doorstep. I frantically explained the strange events and showed her the cryptic notes. Concern etched across her face as she invited me inside. As I recounted the events of the night, she listened attentively. Mrs. Johnson was an elderly woman with vast life experience, and she believed in the inexplicable and supernatural. With a serious expression, she told me about an old legend that circled around our neighborhood. According to the tale, a vengeful spirit known as the Watcher roamed the area, haunting those who dared to be alone at night. The spirit targeted individuals who harbored deep secrets and fears, using cryptic notes as a warning before striking. Terrified by the legend, I realized that my late-night intruder was more than just a prankster. It was something beyond human comprehension. Mrs. Johnson suggested that we find a way to appease the spirit by confronting my fears and facing the truth. Together, we ventured back to my house, armed with courage and determination. As the night wore on, the supernatural occurrences intensified. Yet, we stood our ground, unyielding in our pursuit to uncover the truth. After a series of eerie events, we finally discovered the dark secret that had attracted the malevolent spirit. It was a secret long buried in my family's past, one that I had never known. With the truth revealed, the haunting stopped, and a sense of peace enveloped the house. From that night on, I learned that confronting our deepest fears could lead to liberation. The mysterious notes had led me on a terrifying journey, but in the end, they were the catalyst for confronting the past and breaking free from the clutches of fear. And so, dear viewers, heed my cautionary tale and remember that some secrets are better left untouched, for they may lead to encounters with the unexplainable and sinister entities that lurk in the shadows, waiting to be awakened by unsuspecting souls. Be cautious when alone at night, for you never know when the Watcher might come knocking on your door, leaving a chilling note that will send shivers down your spine.